I'm Owen Bigland. This is the Inside Edge video blog. Okay, I'm going to cover a couple of topics on this blog. First things first, not a month goes by when I don't see something come through on my Twitter or whatever, or through the daily emails I get from my office on some of the news stories involving real estate. We've got a media liaison lady in our office, so I get these updates 5 days a week, and that's what I base a lot of my blogs on as well. Good news stories there that I want to talk about. So I just saw one that came through my desk here the other day, and this is one that I see all the time. It's always this story about Canadian debt levels, and I've done blogs on this in the past. How yes, Canadian debt levels continue to go up. People are living beyond their means. Some of them have got high credit card debt, which is horrible, which I'll get to in a minute. But I think the last article I saw here in Bloomberg, the average Canadian has something like $42,000 in debt. $42,000. And you're going to laugh at this, but I look at that and I think to myself, well, geez, only $42,000. So obviously these people don't own any assets and are living paycheck to paycheck, which is the case with a lot of these people. Because this is going to come as a shock to some of you, and I've done blogs on this, the difference between good debt and bad debt, and they are night and day. So bad debt would be credit card balances, which are absolutely heinous. Credit cards are loan sharks. You're paying 20 to 25% interest, which is loan shark type interest rates on credit cards. So credit cards are bad debt. Car loans, which are often at 6, 7, 8%. In some cases, student loans, depending on the interest rate. Layaway programs on, furniture rentals and that kind of thing, where you're paying 15 and 16% interest rate. That is bad debt. Good debt, on the other hand, as long as you use it conservatively and fiscally, you're fiscally responsible with it, is mortgage debt. Because mortgage debt, you are purchasing an appreciating asset, unlike credit cards or cars, which are depreciating. You're using leverage, which I've done many blogs on before. Please go do a little research on how leverage works. It's really the magic of leverage and how wealth is really created by using leverage. You have to pretty much use some leverage. That's how most of the wealthy people have done it. Mortgage debt is good debt because you've got an appreciating asset, and also mortgage debt is, usually at very reasonable interest rates. So I just had a couple of clients that bought detached homes from me last month. Actually, one was a detached house, one was a condo. They just locked in a 5-year fixed term rate for 2.68% through my guy at TD. 2.68%. You compare that to credit card debt at 20%. So I'm going to give you guys something here, myself and some of my friends and mentors and some of the people I associate with that are also in real estate and investing. I've got several $1 million in debt. I'm not embarrassed to tell you that. Several $1 million in debt because, hey, I'm doing it right. What you need to look at is what is your assets? What is your net worth compared to your debt? Now, I can tell you all my debt, that $2 million, let's call it, is in mortgages, residential mortgages, ranging in interest rates between 2.4% up to 3.15%. Pretty low interest rates. I do not have any car loans. I don't have any credit card debt or anything else. So if you've got a $10 million net worth and $2 million in debt, hey, no problem. You're doing what you're supposed to be doing. Most of the successful people that I know and the investors that I work with are in that kind of ratio, $5 million net worth, and might have $1 million or $1.5 million in mortgages. They're using that leverage to their advantage. So there's good debt and bad debt, and you have to understand that. Mortgages are good debt. Now, before I get some comments here telling everyone to over leverage and everything else, which I'm not, when you're buying an investment condo and putting 20% down, because that's what you're going to have to do, you're going to have to take out a conventional mortgage. That is not over leveraging yourself, because that tenant, for the most part, is covering all your holding costs and probably also chipping off a bit of your principal payment as well. You always want to leave a buffer, as I've always talked about. You don't want to put every last dime into your condo purchase. You should always have some money on the sidelines for A, interest rate hikes down the road, which may or may not happen, although interest rates seem to be going down again now, and they're at rock bottom prices now. But you're going to get things like levies and repairs, and you're going to lose a tenant and maybe have it vacant for a month. You want to allow for that. But leverage is magical. You should be using leverage. That's how the rich just keep getting richer, is by using some leverage. But people get confused about this. The media will talk about people that got, typical Canadian has $18,000 in debt. Well, what kind of debt is it? Is it a mortgage at 3% or is it a credit card at 20%? The funny thing is too, that I blogged about this 5-6 years ago. I was on this bandwagon. How the government has been, really cracking down on mortgages and stress tests. And listen, I'm not saying advocating people take on too much debt. For years I've been telling people, if the bank tells you they can lend you $500, doesn't mean you have to take $500. Borrow $450, leave some money on the table. I'm pretty conservative that way. But here they are cracking down on mortgages, making it so difficult for young people to get into the housing market with the stress test. And the requirements you need now to get a mortgage. I laugh because so many people say, oh, it's driven by cheap debt and it's easy to get a mortgage. And that one I always laugh at. Obviously by someone who's never bought a home in Canada. Anyone who's bought a home in Canada here over the last 5 or 10 years know it is very difficult to qualify for a mortgage. Even I get put through the ringer when I'm buying and pulling the trigger on another investment property. Geez, I had to just renew the mortgage on one of my properties and they made me go through the damn stress test thing again. I had to give them my latest T4 slip. I could pay the thing off tenfold if I wanted to. But hey, that's what it's like living in Canada trying to get a mortgage. But they're so stringent on what I consider to be good debt, mortgages at sub 3%, yet the credit cards at 20 and 25% for some of these department store credit cards is absolutely ridiculous. It's crazy. It's loan sharking. That's the stuff that the government should be cracking down on. This high interest rate debt. On that front, last thing here. If you've got credit card balances or student loans or car loans and you're paying anything more than 4 or 4.5% on them, do not start saving for retirement. Do not start putting money into your RSP or your TFSA and forget about saving for the down payment on a house, your first condo. You need to clear that off first. Doesn't make any sense because you're saving for the house and earning 1.5% in a term deposit and you're paying 20% on your Visa bill. So clear that off first. I think it's pretty straightforward. Most people realize that, I hope. But this is one of the reasons why I also tell people to own the Canadian banks. The Canadian banks are a license to print money when they're charging 20% on the Visa bill that they hold. It's a license to print money. That's why I hold hundreds of thousands of dollars in the Canadian banks. And they pay me a 4.5% dividend yield that they keep growing. Because you've got hundreds of thousands of Canadians that hold balances on these things at 20%. It's crazy. The second topic I want to talk about, I get a lot of people that ask me, hey, Owen, what do you see as good value out there right now? I'm always getting this question. Do you have any hidden deals or secret deals? Well, I don't really. If I did, I'd probably buy them. There's some good values out there. But a lot of people ask if I've got some crazy deal, or I'm looking for a building lot, that I can steal. Well, those aren't out there. Anybody that tells you they can get you one of those is crazy. Most people, if they're smart, when you're listing these things, you're putting them out on the open market. You're not doing private deals for these and stealing these things. But, one of the areas, and I've talked about it a few times before, an area right now that I think represents very good value are some older condos. Some are wood frame, some are concrete, and some good older townhomes. Now, these could be the townhomes, for instance, 30, 35 years old. In most cases, the best ones to go after are the ones that are pretty much in original condition. So they need a complete reno. Provided that they're in a good strata. I've got a couple of townhomes that I just listed recently. Both of them need renovations. They're both in good stratas. I just sold one in Burnaby a couple of months ago that was almost 2,000 square feet. It was a duplex style townhome. but a lot of these units need a reno, and that's where you're going to get the value here. Because when you're listing one of these townhomes, let's say it's a 1,300 square foot townhome in Richmond, let's say, which I've got one I just listed here with 2 parking spaces, 1,300 square feet, 3 bedroom, 1.5 bath, listed at $600K. Needs a full reno. 35 years old, it's original, it's tired, the flooring is worn down, the kitchen cabinets are original, the appliances are rough. You're going to have to spend $40,000 to $50,000 all day to renovate that, a basic reno. And then the sky's the limit from there. You could easily spend $70,000, $80,000, $100,000 to reno these. But I would keep it into proportion to what the unit is really worth. You don't want to be spending a $150,000 reno on a $600,000 condo or townhome. Keep it to what the value is. But let's say you spend $50,000. These can be excellent values here. The reason being is because your buyer pool, much less competition on these, because you have to think about it. Most buyers are going out there looking for something in the $600,000 range. Most people these days in this market are at the high end of what they're qualified for. So they're not able to buy that condo or that townhouse and then have a spare $40,000 or $50,000 cash to do the reno. So you're getting into a very narrow buyer pool here. You need a guy that can, A, buy the unit for $600K, and then again, as I say, spend 3 months and $50,000 doing the reno. But those can be excellent value. I'm even now starting to see early signs, but it's a dangerous game, of some flippers coming back, some speculators coming back in on some of my units, where they're buying these with the intention, I think, to renovate them, maybe in some cases, which isn't a bad idea, live in it for a year and a half, and then maybe sell it, if that's what you want to do. But good value in these, but you need to have some financial wherewithal here. You need to have the $600,000 or $700,000 to purchase it, and then you need, a pretty decent war chest to do the reno, because these ones that I've just listed recently, the one especially is not livable. It's a bit of a mess. It's a trustee sale for me. It was a hoarder. I've seen this many times. The walls are completely yellowed. Poor lady in there, I think she smoked her head off there for 20 years, so a lot of the drywall needs to be done. It's a mess. You're going to need to spend $50,000, $60K without blinking an eye. But these can be good values in some of these older townhouses and condos. The thing, though, you have to be careful with is you've got to do your due diligence. You've got to get a realtor who knows that strata, or if he doesn't know the strata, write an offer, get some information on the strata, get all the strata documents, do a home inspection, make sure you're not facing a bunch of levies. But there are some very good older stratas. The actual buildings themselves are in good order, well-maintained, proactive strata. It's just the unit needs a complete reno. They can be good buying opportunities if you've got that spare $50K, because it's a narrow buyer's range that's able to do that. I'm Owen Bigland. As always, thanks for watching. I'll see you next week.